Her mother, and then I have a couple of letters here.
All right. State, are you, well, let me see the letters. I don't believe the state will have any objections, so I
It's
will
from
at least,
daughter and son.
all right. At least I will have read that because we have a jury starting at it. All right, thank you. And did you get a copy of the PSI?
We didn't do a PSI, Judge. It's just the
Yes, you're right. Okay, let me review the letters. You're welcome.
that's what I thought. Hey. Oh.
I do.
Counsel. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And Andrew, I just read the letters. I didn't think you all would have any objections to them.
So from son-in-law.
Deputy, if y'all can bring out Selena Allen, we're ready.
Oh, she's right here.
All right, if you can bring her out.
Judge, if you have just a couple of minutes with her.
Yes.
Thank you, Judge.
So on the second term. Yes, ma'am.
No, she had given them back.
Judge,
Sorry.
Yes.
the jail is running a little behind, we're still waiting on that to try.
All right, thank you.
Hello.
Time?
Yeah.
That's right.
Let's see.
Deputy, do you have an ETA? All right, and could you bring out, let me see. If you could bring out Robert Thompson?
Thompson, I believe we're waiting.
Okay. Mr. Leal, we're waiting for your client to be brought over. So just give us a moment. Let me ask you, can you call the jail and see if Thompson is still at the jail and if he's en route? If he's still at the jail, just see if we can have him by video. Yes. Right, are you all ready to proceed?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, Judge.
All right, if I could have Selena Allen come up forward, please. And then, oh, the deputy lawyer just go back?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, court is calling 2024 CR 012239 and 2025 CR 002038. State versus Selena Marie Allen. Could I have parties announced for the state
Andrew Perry Sadelman.
defense?
Sean Sheffield, Your Honor.
And are you Miss Allen?
Yes, ma'am.
We're here today for sentencing. In each of these two cause numbers, you entered a plea of guilty. The PSI was waived. According to your plea bargaining agreement, punishment is to be assessed at 2 years in the state jail facility. The state is opposed to your application. Defense had letters that he wanted the court to read. State, did you have any objections to the court reading those letters?
No, Judge.
All right, so the court has reviewed the letters. State, any witnesses?
No, Judge.
Defense, any other witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor, we have Miss Allen and then also her mother. I don't know which would you prefer to go first.
However you want to proceed, counsel.
I'll call the mother.
All right, and if you'll step that way, please. And miss, if you need a chair, we can have you sit in a chair.
Would you like a chair?
No.
Okay.
No problem. Well, I see you have a cane, so I want to ask you to raise your right hand. Is there any objection to the court not asking that of the witness?
I have no
Yes.
problem with that. I'll take care of
Do you
that.
solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
My name is Linda Reyes.
Linda Reyes?
Linda Reyes.
All right. You may proceed.
Ma'am, how are you related to Miss Allen?
I'm her mother.
Okay, and you understand why we're here today?
Yes.
And it's your understanding that your daughter has been charged with several crimes.
Yes,
You understand that,
yes, I do.
and you understand we're here for punishment.
Yes, I know.
And we're asking the court for probation.
Yes, I know.
Can you tell the court why you believe that it would be best for your daughter to have probation?
Probation or rest at home or anything, because she's the only one I have to take care of me. And I live in the country, and which is I have nobody else that's her. And then I also want to let you know that I'm a Jehovah's Witness, and I'm very, very religious, and I would like her to if possible, stay with me, house arrest, whatever, comply, shopping between classes. So apparently she has a problem with that. And then also monitor whatever, because I really need her at home. And so does her son that's going to graduate in June. And she worked hard for him, and he was a varsity football player. She also has two older daughters that one went to Park, was a cheerleader, and she was a cheerleader for Garden Word, and her other daughter's a successful tech, computer tech, so she's lived for her children. And during this time that she was on her little thing was because she made a bad choice of being with a bad man. He is now incarcerated for like 20, 30 years, thank goodness, because he was very abusive. And then came COVID. With COVID, she got behind, and then she got evicted twice this last year, which was hard to get back on her feet. So apparently she chose a lot of bad choices. So, and I'm not financially stable to really help her. So, all I ask is for you to please have some mercy, find her some way to stay home, because I'm.
Give you a minute.
Yeah.
You need to sit down.
No. Because I need her at home. And so does her little girl. She has a little one that's 9 years old. I cries for her all the time. And she's very close to her mother. So if you please, find some way or that she can stay home and get punished. And I don't care what you do to her, as long as she just be there. I live in a mobile home in the country to top it off. So, I have nobody, and I have nobody wants to go out there. And so I really need her at home, and I could, plus she has a liver disease, and she has a heart problem too. Her father died of this liver disease at 60, so I'm very, very worried about her being somewhere that she might not have the care she needs, because she was given a lot of care at the Bexar County, so I just plead and
Thank you. So
ask you, okay, and be this the week of the Passover of forgiveness and sins, and
right.
take that into consideration.
all right, thank you. Thank you so very
Uh-huh.
much for speaking to me and giving me some insight into your daughter.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other witnesses? Oh, no, there's no need to apologize. You want to raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
You can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Selena.
All right, defense, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Oh, thank you. Ma'am, you understand why we're here,
Yes, I do.
okay? And we're here, you're asking the court for leniency,
Yes.
and you're asking for probation.
Yes, no matter how long it is, I'm willing to take probation or monitor or anything. I've taken numerous amount of classes,
Okay, and regarding that you have taken
taken parenting classes, I've taken theft classes, I've done AA, I've done anger management, I've done a lot of different classes. Anything I could take, I've taken. I'm in the process of getting my GED.
and these are the certificates that you did,
Yes,
and these were done while you were in custody.
yes,
Okay, so you took it upon yourself to do these classes.
yes,
Do you believe they've been helpful?
yes.
Why?
It's making me look at life differently. In this last year, I've made a lot of bad decisions. I take full responsibility for my actions, and I apologize. I'm willing to pay any restitution I would need to pay. Again, I need to take care of my mother. I have my son's about to cross stage. I don't know if you read his letter, but he's about to
Yes.
cross stage, and that's a big, I guess, goal for me and him. I've had 2 kids who graduated already. One of them graduated from college. So I'm just asking you to please take in consideration all these things. I do have SCAT, which is a heart disease, and congested heart failure. and got a tear in my coronary artery, and I have cirrhosis of the liver. I've been in the hospital here at Bexar County, and to get me to the hospital when I was having a heart attack recently, it took them 2 hours. So it is a fear. And I did have a heart attack in Bexar County. I tried to get those medical records to you. They wouldn't get them to you in time.
No, I'll take you at your word.
With that, Judge, I'll pass the witness.
State.
Said that you understand why we're here.
Yes, sir, I do.
Why are we here?
Thefts that I've committed, and I was in a really bad relationship, a very abusive relationship, and he just had me do things that is not, I know I have a record, but I haven't had a record, I haven't committed a crime in over 10 years. And up until these is what I mean. Prior, I finished a 2-year probation. And 10 years ago, in 2015, I finished a 2-year probation without any problems. I had lost my job during COVID and had got evicted and started hanging around, dating the wrong person, I guess. And committed these crimes that I should never have committed. I'm truly very sorry for them. Willing to pay any restitution back to them, willing to do whatever it is that I need to do for y'all's forgiveness. Like I said, I take full responsibility for my actions. I'm not blaming anybody or blaming anything. I'm taking full responsibility for them. I just want leniency to get some sort of probation monitor, whatever it is that could do.
I'd like to ask a bit more about this abusive relationship that seems to have led you to commit the crimes that you're accused of committing.
Yes.
So who was this person
His name is Gilbert Alfred Carrion.
and how did you meet?
I met him through a friend.
And
He's doing 28 years in prison right now.
for what?
Numerous of charges.
So that relationship effectively over.
Yes, sir. He'll be doing 28 years.
Why did this abusive relationship lead you to commit these crimes?
Him forcing me, him telling me I needed to do it, or he was gonna hit me if I didn't go get him some money or go do this or go do that. So, and like I said, I don't blame him. I blame myself because I am fully responsible for myself and my actions. I can't blame anybody for my actions, but myself, but I've created a heart disease. I have a severe heart disease. It's called SCAT. I have congestive heart failure and I have cirrhosis of the liver.
You said that you were looking at life differently now. Can you elaborate on that?
I've never been away from my children this long, ever. And it's really causing an effect on me and them. My son's about to cross stage in June, and to not do that after working so hard to get him there is a big effect. And so all that I looked into consideration. And like I said, I've taken the numerous of my classes in jail on my own, just things that I've done on my own.
So my last question is, if you take responsibility for your actions, then what responsibility do you have in choosing to commit these crimes rather than confront the difficulty of leaving Mr. Raines?
Excuse me, tell me that again, I'm sorry.
It's a complex question,
Yes,
but essentially, why did you commit these crimes rather than confront the difficulty of leaving Mr. Raines?
because I was just because he threatened before he'd leave me, he would kill me. He would hurt me, he would hurt me, quite often, and that's what he would tell me. He would kill me if I left him. Under oath, he was so to the deeds, he would tell me if I left him. If I didn't do what he said, he would kill me. And he's just like I said, he's been 28 years in prison. And now I could say I feel safe. I never really felt safe before, as long as I've been with him. He was just a very scary person.
I understand. Thank you.
All right, any further questions?
No, Your Honor, I do have certificates of completion regarding the parenting class. I don't know if you would show them to closing counsel. And we don't have the theft class, Your Honor. I
You know,
should try
they
to have
haven't
that.
given me the certificates yet.
No problem. All right, so here, I have a few questions if there are no objections.
So, yeah.
So when you were with this gentleman that you said you were with,
Mhm.
who was taking care of your mother?
My kids were there.
All right. And when you were with this gentleman that you say you were with, where were your children? Were your children living with you?
Yes, they were with my mother.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Were
Yes,
they living with you?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
All right. So you had this man in your life and you said your children were living with you
Yes, ma'am.
and you were living on your own with your children and this man.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
But no, the man did not live with me and he lived in his own house.
Okay.
He did not live in my house. I got evicted.
All right. So let me just tell you what my issue is.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a rash of thefts.
Yes, ma'am.
April 24th, 2024, HEB. I can understand HEB, you know, it's against the law, but maybe you're trying to feed your children, right?
Yeah.
Then on October 7th, 2024, Sephora. October 11th, 2024, Sephora. October 8th, 2024, Ray. October 18th, 2024, Sephora. November 19th, I'm sorry. November 16th, Sephora. November 19th, Ray. December 27th, Target. You have no less than 8 thefts,
Yes, ma'am. I-
constant back to back.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not going to grant your application. I don't think probation is appropriate for you. In each case, the court is going to find you guilty, sentence you to 2 years in the state jail facility, give you credit for any time served. The cause numbers will run concurrently, and I'll recommend the therapeutic community.
So I got 2 years.
Yes. Did you review the documents entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it?
I don't know.
It's the trial court certification. It's telling you whether or not you have the court's permission to appeal
Okay.
these cases. Do you understand that?
Do I have?
It's this document that you signed.
Okay,
All right. Did you review that document with your attorney?
I believe so.
Well, I mean, either you did or you did not.
Your Honor, this was
A long
month,
time ago.
a week or so ago, so she may not remember exactly what the document.
All right.
That's your signature.
Yes.
Okay, and this document went over.
All right, because this is plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you will need to speak to your attorney. Do you understand?
Yes.
And state, I'm assuming these other cases, y'all are tendering dismissals?
Yes, that was for you.
He's working on it.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, and this is Mr. Sir in the box. What's your name? Come up, please. Let me have the paperwork on Thompson. Mr. Leal, we're ready for you. Thank you. Did somebody call Mr. Yes.
Is there a defendant against an allegation on?
Let me see. I don't have the indictment in this. So let me see. On Thompson. I don't think there is.
If there is, state there's.
Okay, court is calling 2025 CR 0000698 State versus Robert Thompson. Can I have parties announced for the record? State,
Andrew Herrick Sadelman.
defense,
Rafael Leal for Mr. Thompson.
and are you Mr. Thompson?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any objection to your attorney appearing by Zoom? All right, counsel, have you received all discovery? Did you review it with your client?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Court will find that the state is in compliance with discovery. Mr. Thompson, did you review the true bill of indictment with your attorney? Did you understand it? Counsel, do you waive the reading of the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and state, it appears that you are proceeding on count two and waiving count one. Is that correct? Any objection to the waiver?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Thompson, did you review the court admonishments with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it in all the appropriate places? Did you understand you're charged with? Thank you. Did you understand you're charged with possession of a controlled substance, penalty group 1 gram to 4 grams? That's a third-degree felony. Range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 10 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea. If for any reason the court does not follow your plea and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand? You have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call in, the right to remain silent. Did you understand by entering this plea, you were giving up those rights? And did you intend to give up those rights and enter into a plea in this case? Counsel, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you believe he has a rational as well as a factual understanding of the charges against him?
I do.
Do you believe he's currently competent and was legally sane at the time of the offense?
Believe he is and he was, yes.
Mr. Thompson, has anyone threatened you, coerced you, or placed you in fear to get you to enter this plea? Anyone promised you anything other than the plea? Are you satisfied with the way you've been represented? Are you a U.S. citizen? Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived his right to jury trial. Did you review the plea bargain page with your attorney? Did you understand it? According to the plea, punishment is to be assessed at 2 years in the prison. The state is proceeding on count 2 only. There are no applications. The state will take in consideration 2024 CR 012849. Did you understand that to be the plea? Defense? Is that the plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
State, is that the plea?
Yes, Judge.
Did you review the waiver of appeal paragraph with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it in both places? Did you understand by signing that you're waiving your right to appeal? The only items that can be appealed are written pretrial motions that have been filed, heard, and ruled upon by the court. Did you understand? Counsel, have there been any such motions?
No, Your Honor.
Then to count 2, how do you plea? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest? State, any evidence?
Contained in Exhibit 1 and attachments, Judge.
Any objections?
No objection, Your
Did
Honor.
you review the waiver and stipulations with your attorney? Did you understand it and sign it in all the appropriate places? Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call in, the right to remain silent? Did you understand that today the state will be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements and police reports, but most importantly, there will be no live testimony? Did you understand? Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Court will accept into evidence states Exhibits 1 and attachments, and the court will review the same. All right, counsel, is your client stipulating to the fact that he is? Just 1 second, I found it. All right, after reviewing states Exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find that there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and the court will find you guilty. Are you proceeding with sentencing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything you wish to say on behalf of your client?
Your Honor, I will just ask that the court follow the agreement we made with the state. Other than the elements of the offense, there was nothing aggravating, no aggravating circumstances. And that's the reason that the state made the offer of at the lowest level of the guidelines. And we would like the court to assess that.
All right, the court will find you guilty, sentence you to 2 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. Take in consideration 2024 CR 012849, and I'm going to recommend the therapeutic community. The therapeutic community doesn't increase the time that you're in custody. It's just to help you maintain your sobriety. But you'll have to request it because I do not have jurisdiction or authority to force them to place you in the program. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it? All right, because this is plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand? All right, we can go off the record. Here's the thing. You've heard me tell people this before. There are only two things that are going to end up happening to you if you continue doing this. One, you're going to find yourself in and out of somebody's jail and in and out of somebody's prison. There's always room for people at the prison. You know, when people say, oh, prison is violating things because it's overcrowded, they're not going to say, well, you know what? We're going to close this down. We're not going to accept anybody else because it's overcrowded. Guess what they're going to do? If the law says there can only be 10 people in the cell, they'll put 12 people in the cell, or either you're going to be sleeping on the floor in the hallway. You understand? The other thing that can happen is somebody ends up identifying your body. All right? When you're released from prison, if you can't find a place to help you maintain your sobriety and you don't know where you go, if I'm still here, you can come in here. I'll pick up the phone, call a place for you. All right? All right. Good luck to you. Okay? You're welcome. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And go back. Thank you, Mr. Leal. Yes, yes.
Morning, Honor.
Good morning.
I'm appearing for Mr. Paltz this morning. Fortunately, he was family emergency. They were sick. I think he set on Greg Wright this morning. Ultimately, I believe that was going to be a plea, but I'm asking for it to be just recalled to tomorrow or to next week.
Could I
to
see the
handle
file
that.
on Wright, please? Oh, maybe I put it together. They just do a bunch of paper files for us. All righty, let me. Ah, thank you. No problem. All right, is it going to be enough time for him for tomorrow?
If not, I'll appear again tomorrow for him.
You want me to just call it for Friday?
Friday, I don't know what Mr. Paltz's schedule is, but I will not be available. So
All right, we'll recall it for tomorrow
thank
at
you.
9 a.m.
Thank you.
All right, and then Deputy Laura, if everyone's here. All right, thank you.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right. Yes.
Okay, here's our judge.
Okay, we're ready. Yes.
All right, for the jury?
Oh, Judge, I'm not, you're not ready? No. I'm trying to get the mics ready.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone, please be seated. Don't rush. When you rush, it just takes longer. There we go.
Are you replying to the email? Real estate? Okay, I'll do it. They're asking for, I was telling you we're still filing. This honeymoon exams, which is right after this.
All right, State, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Regarding yesterday, the witness David Pendleton, the state offered state's exhibits 36 and 37, which were admitted into evidence, but we are moving to renumber them as 136 and 137.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right,
No
then,
objection to the video.
Then, ladies and gentlemen,
We're demonstrative.
Oh, that's right.
ladies and gentlemen, States Exhibit 36 and 37 will remain the same content, but they're just renumbering it. And so 36 will now be 136 and 37 will now be 137. Does everyone understand? All right, State, call your next witness.
Judge, really quick before the next witness, at this time, the state offers states exhibits 59, 60, and 61, which were authenticated through Officer Halliburton, and defense has previously reviewed the exhibit.
No objection.
All right, States Exhibit 59, 60, and 61 are admitted.
Thank you. The state calls Christina Vachon.
Will you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, you may have a seat. All right, if you make sure that you keep your voice up so that members of the jury can hear, and also if you could state your name and spell your last name, please.
My name is Christina Vachon. My last name is spelled Vachon.
Right, state, you may proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Vashon, how are you currently employed?
I am currently employed as the Quality Assurance Manager at the Bexar County Criminal Investigation Laboratory. I've been in that position for about 5 years now. And for the 15 years prior to that, I was a forensic scientist in the trace evidence section.
All right, and as a forensic scientist in the trace evidence section, what were your duties in that position?
I would examine items of evidence that would come into the laboratory. They were generally microscopic, but not biological in nature. So I would examine items such as fibers, did hair comparisons, paint, gunshot residue, footwear and tire tracks, did a lot of different types of testing.
All right, can you explain to the jury your educational background?
I have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry and a master's degree with a concentration in forensic science.
All right. And as a forensic scientist with the Bexar County Crime Lab, did you receive any specific training regarding gunshot residue?
Yes, I did.
Can you explain that to the jury?
Yes. I attended the Lehigh University School of Microscopy for training on the instrument that we use. I also received training from the manufacturer of our instrument on the software that we use. And I received training in-house on the type of testing for gunshot residue. And that included reading journal articles, conducting supervised casework, and then passing written and practical exams before I was released to do my own casework in gunshot residue.
Okay. And have you testified as an expert witness in the area of gunshot residue before?
Yes, I have.
And has that been including in courts in Bexar County, Texas?
Yes.
Now regarding the Bexar County Crime Lab, can you explain to the jury if the lab has any credentials or certifications?
We are accredited.
Okay. And in the Bexar County Crime Lab, do you have the ability to conduct a gunshot residue analysis?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to show you what has been marked as case exhibit number 17. Well, it's been entered. Just take a look at that and tell me if you recognize it.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is that the kit that you received to conduct analysis?
Yes.
Okay. Now, as part of your records, do you maintain the chain of custody for your portion of case exhibit number 17 at the Bexar County Crime Lab?
The chain of custody is retained in our laboratory information management system. It's a database software system.
Okay. Now regarding the state's exhibit, did you receive that at the Bexar County Crime Lab?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall what date you received it?
I mark the item of evidence whenever I receive it, and I mark this as May 23rd, 2017.
Okay. And do you recall who you received that from? Was it an agency or?
The evidence was received into the laboratory from the San Antonio Police Department.
Okay. And once the evidence is received into the Bexar County Crime Lab, do you know where it goes?
Yes, it is kept in the evidence receiving section of the laboratory in the vault there until I'm ready for examination. And then I will take custody of the evidence and take it to our scanning electron microscopy room, which is where I do gunshot residue testing.
Okay. And so in this case, did you personally obtain the state's exhibit for testing on May 23rd of 2017? Would it be marked on the exhibit?
Yes, I did.
All right. Did the kit have any unique identifiers on the packaging when you received it?
Yes.
Do you recall what those would be?
All items of evidence that we receive from the San Antonio Police Department have a barcode that is related to the agency number and the type of evidence.
Okay. And so the barcode on the state's exhibit, can you please read that?
Your Honor, at this time, we would renew our objections as to hearsay and confrontation based on the predicate that wasn't laid about Kim Wong.
All right, that objection is overruled.
You may read it. Well, and Judge, if I could just respond, this hit was, and sample was obtained by, Catherine Andrews Emler, who did testify in this case, so that's my response.
Yes, Your Honor, but Ms. Andrews turned the scene over to Ms. Wong in process.
Excuse me, just one second. Excuse me, why are you all here?
Oh, he needs to come back here, Judge.
All right,
Slight diversion.
all right, please be seated. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman who came in has absolutely nothing to do with this case. Believe it or not, back there are restrooms, there is plumbing, and there may be an issue with the plumbing in the back, and we don't want any floods coming into the courtroom. So completely ignore him in the sense that it has absolutely nothing to do with this case. And there is no other entryway for him to come there other than here. All right, so state, what were you stating?
Well, I was just responding to his objection. State's exhibit that the witness has was personally collected by a witness that testified, which is Catherine Andrews.
All right, and
Our only response is that while we don't dispute that Ms. Andrews is the person who did the swabbing, the barcode that the question was asked to have read into the record was generated by another witness who's unavailable.
all right, that objection is overruled.
All right, could you please read the San Antonio Police Department case number on the state's exhibit?
It's 17089350.
And when you receive evidence at the crime lab, is it assigned a unique number within the crime lab for tracking?
Yes, it is.
And what would that be in this case?
In this case, that was 17-03268. And sometimes we do get separate submissions with different types of evidence. This was submission 2 that came in on this, with this agency number from the San Antonio Police Department.
Okay. And regarding the, did you get any information of who the kit was collected from?
Yes, it was labeled as John Doe on the outside of the kit, but the submission form that is filled out by SAPD and comes in with the evidence listed the kit as having come from.
Renew the same objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
The submission form identified the person the kit was collected from as Mark Anthony Saldivar.
Okay. And when you take the kit into your custody, do you do any visual inspection to ensure there's been no tampering on the kit?
Yes, all items of evidence that come into the laboratory have to be tape sealed. So I ensured that the seal and the package are intact.
Okay. And so on May 23rd of 2017, did you analyze the contents of the sleep exhibit 17?
Yes, I believe I received the evidence on May 23rd, and then I actually did the analysis on May 30th.
Okay, thank you very much. And on the day that you conducted the analysis, were you forensic scientists employed with the Bexar County Crime Lab?
Yes, I was.
And regarding State's Exhibit number 17, did you put any unique identifiers on there for your knowledge to ensure that it's the same thing that you conducted the analysis on?
Yes.
What would that be?
Every item of evidence that I take into my custody, I will write the criminal investigation laboratory number, the date that I receive it, the item number, and my initials. And then whenever I have completed analysis, I will make a tape seal and write my initials and the date that I seal it. And I see both of those here.
Okay. Would you please explain to the jury what gunshot residue is?
Yes, I have a model if I may use it.
Your Honor, and defense counsel, the witness has a demonstrative, but she does not wish to leave it here and for it to be entered into evidence after she'd be able to use it.
No objections to the use or preventing its admission. She can.
All right.
use it.
Yes, you may proceed.
This is a model of a round of ammunition, and you may have seen it with the firearms examiner as well. I'm going to show you something different with it. So what happens whenever a trigger is pulled on a gun, it will release the firing pin of the gun. The firing pin will strike the primer cap area that you see here, the silver area, and that contains shock sensitive chemicals. So whenever it receives that strike from the firing pin, there will be an explosion in this primer cap, which blows into the cartridge case area of the ammunition. Inside the cartridge case, there is nitrocellulose, gunpowder, and that will ignite and burn very quickly, and the gases expand inside the cartridge case. And it's those expanding gases that actually push the bullet out of the cartridge case and down the barrel. So whenever I am looking for gunshot residue, I'm looking for the components of the primer cap area. And it contains the metals lead, barium, and antimony. And those will evaporate in the explosion and then condense back together to form particles. And those particles are forced out of any open areas of the gun, and they will land on surfaces around the gun when it's fired.
Okay. And the analysis, how do you conduct it? With what instrument?
I use a scanning electron microscope with an energy dispersive X-ray detector.
And what would the analysis reveal?
The analysis allows me to identify individual particles on the surface of the sampling device. And if they contain lead, barium, and antimony during the automated analysis, then I will go back and confirm that composition. I'll look at the shape and size, which is also important. And then I'll be able to confirm that gunshot residue was on that sample. And it will allow me to make conclusions as to whether a person possibly handled this or discharged a firearm.
All right. And now, so when you conducted your analysis of the state's exhibit, did you prepare a report that reflected the findings?
Yes, I did.
Of your analysis? And just regarding, did you follow all the protocol regarding the instrument when you conducted the analysis?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
You can answer.
Yes, I did.
And once you were finished conducting your analysis, what did you do with the evidence?
The evidence was returned back to the evidence receiving section of the laboratory, and then it was collected by a representative from SAPD.
Show you what has been marked as state's exhibit number 139. You could take a look at that and tell me if you recognize the document.
Yes, I do.
Okay, is that a copy of the report that you generated in this case?
Yes, it does.
Okay, does it reflect your findings of your analysis?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and was it state's exhibit number 39 created at or around the time that you conducted your analysis?
Yes, it was.
And are you a custodian of records for the Barricade Crime Lab?
Yes, I am.
Is state's exhibit number 139 a true and accurate copy of the report and your findings?
Yes, it is.
And just regarding, is that your signature or electronic signature on the report?
Yes, it is.
And is this report kept in the record for submission?
Yes, it is.
You're tendering to defendants for inspection. This time you offer state's exhibit 139.
No objections.
All right, state's exhibit number 139 is admitted without objection.
Permission to publish.
Granted.
All right, Ms. Vashon, so I am publishing state's exhibit number 139, which you've stated is a copy of your report. Can you please explain to the jury, what the result of your analysis was?
I identified 10 microscopic particles containing lead, barium, and antimony on the sample that was collected from the right hand of Mark Anthony Saldivar. And I found 10 particles containing lead, barium, and antimony on the sample that was collected from the left hand of Mark Anthony Saldivar.
And is there any significance in the microscopic particles?
Yes, I will confirm up to 10 particles on each sample. So that means that there were possibly more than 10 particles on these sampling devices.
Okay, and so based on the identification of these particles, what was your finding regarding Mark Anthony Saldivar?
My conclusion was that based on the morphology and the elemental composition of the particles I found, Mark Anthony Saldivar may have discharged a firearm, handled a discharged firearm, or was in close proximity to a discharging firearm.
Okay, now in your training and experience, have you examined gunshot residue kits for victims of a gunshot wound?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and is it common for victims that suffered a gunshot wound to have gunshot residue present?
Objection relevance.
Overruled.
You can answer.
In my experience, it is very common for victims of gunshot wounds to have gunshot residue on their hands.
And why is that?
It is because as I said before, it's the force of the gases that are pushing the bullet down the barrel of the gun and toward the target. So most of the gunshot residue is going to be forced in that direction because that's where all of the pressure is going. So whenever a gun is pointed at a target, then a majority of the gunshot residue will be traveling in that direction toward that target. So if a person is being shot, it would be common sense. It would make sense for them to have gunshot residue on them if they're close enough to the gun.
And you can't definitively say, right, because you were not a witness in the case, but you can't definitively say whether the victim discharged a firearm or not. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Hypothetically, in your training and experience, if somebody was wrestling with a firearm, would that result in them having gunshot residue on their hand?
That is possible. One of my conclusions is that the person may have handled a previously discharged firearm. And if they are struggling over a gun, then they would be touching the gun.
We have the witness, Your Honor.
Defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. How are you?
Good.
A couple of things. Your conclusions were that either he fired a gun, he handled a gun, or he was in close proximity to a gun being discharged, right?
Correct. Those are all ways that someone could get gunshot residue on their hands directly from the gun. They are the most likely, but they're not the only possibilities.
So the analysis you performed doesn't weight those possibilities. They're all equally as likely based upon what you know about the circumstances of what you received.
Correct.
Okay. And we can't really, in an ethical way, scientifically, try to apply more weight to one or the other. We can't just shoot someone and see how much powder is left on them, right?
Correct. And all guns and ammunition and crime scenes are different. So you wouldn't even be able to repeat what happened at a crime scene in the lab to determine how much gunshot residue someone should have on them.
And in terms of the possibility that they were just in close proximity to a firearm, in other words, they got shot by a firearm and that's why they have residue, that would depend on how far away they are from the gun, right?
Partially, but there was a study conducted that postulated that there is possibly a supersonic wind that travels behind a bullet that gunshot residue can travel in. So that residue can be deposited on someone that's further downrange. But generally, gunshot residue will stay in the vicinity of the gun where it is fired.
And so there's a study that is considering that as a hypothesis, but it hasn't been established as a well-recognized practice or thing to rely on in your field, right?
Correct.
Okay. You indicated in your remarks that it would be recommended that the known firearm and ammunition be submitted if further testing is desired. Would that be because it could be conceivable to look at the concentrations of lead, barium, and antimony in the shell casing residue and compare that with the concentrations that you find on the subject, on the deceased's hands, and see if there are similarities, for example, in the mixture of the gunpowder for that particular brand of ammunition?
So these particles are heterogeneous, which means that they won't have the same concentrations of the different elements in them in every particle. Sometimes we do see ammunition that has an additional element in it, such as copper or tin that we can see in the particles. And sometimes it might be helpful to try to connect that back to the ammunition that was used in the crime that's being investigated. But generally, we have that statement there for cases where gunshot residue is not found. And we would be able to do a test fire to see if the gun actually expels gunshot residue, what type of gunshot residue comes out of the gun, because it doesn't always have these lead, barium, and antimony components. So it could be done in this situation because we did find 10 particles, because I did find 10 particles on each sample. I would not have recommended it.
Okay, but this is your report, right?
Yes,
And it is the final released version of the report, meaning that you're not going to be able to amend it later. This is what goes into evidence, right?
yes,
And those remarks are on States Exhibits 139, right?
correct. Those are standard remarks that go out in every gunshot residue report.
And that kind of testing could have been done, right?
Yes,
It wasn't done to your knowledge in this case.
correct.
I'll pass the witness.
No further questions and witnesses excused by stage.
No further questions, witnesses excused.
All right, the rule has been invoked. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony or view anything about this trial during the pendency of the case.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Oh, make sure you leave your microphone. State, call your next witness.
State calls the new sir.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sorry, state your next witness.
Denise Serno. Check. Yeah, that's.
Rescheduling. Serenity. Rescheduling.
If you raise your right hand. You solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right, you can lower your hand. Make sure you keep your voice up so that members of the jury can hear. If you'll state your name and spell your last name, please.
Denise Sereno, Serenial.
All right, state you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Serno,
Yes,
can you just please tell the jury how are you currently employed?
I am employed with the city of San Antonio.
And where are you based out of?
I work at the San Antonio Police Department headquarters.
And what's your occupation?
I am a latent fingerprint examiner.
And how long have you been a latent fingerprint examiner?
8 years.
And I guess in the realms of fingerprinting or fingerprints or prints, how long have you been in that field?
I have 26 years experience with fingerprints.
And so roughly from like about 1998,
Yes,
okay? And do you go through certain training and other, I guess, experiences to become a latent print examiner?
we have in-house on-the-job training. Working day by day with the latent prints.
And do you also go, did you subsequently go to any type of course or any type of continuing education on prints and fingerprints and latent prints?
Yes,
And are you considered a qualified latent print or latent fingerprint examiner?
yes.
And can you just describe to the jury what, well, first, let's just describe what a fingerprint is. I know that's probably pretty common, but can you describe to the jury what a fingerprint is?
A fingerprint is an impression left on the surface by the friction ridges of the fingers and thumbs.
And let me ask the question is, have you ever, in your roughly 26 years of experience, have you ever come across two individuals that have the exact same fingerprint?
I have not.
And can you describe to the jury, I mentioned it earlier in your title, latent print or latent fingerprints. Can you describe to the jury what latent prints or fingerprints means?
A latent print is an unknown, unseen to the eye that needs some type of further processing to be seen.
And can you also describe to them what we consider, what your profession at times, you have latent cards that are presented to you. What is a latent card?
A latent card it has the prints, the unknown prints that are lifted at crime scenes with the detailed information on it.
Now, on these latent cards that you've reviewed in this case and other cases, is there possibilities of more than one print per latent card?
Yes.
And I keep interchanging latent print and latent fingerprint. Are all latent prints fingerprints?
No.
Can you describe to the jury what you mean by that?
There could be fingerprints and there could be palm prints.
And in certain cases, are you able to identify also these latent prints as part of the palm?
I look at the clarity and legibility of the unknown print.
And let's talk about how identifying these prints. How are you, or what is a criteria for you to be able to identify these prints?
I look at the ridge characteristics to identify a specific point on my unknown to my known.
And is there certain, I guess, I mean, I like a better term, legible or clarity that you need to abide by?
We do 7 points to make an identification.
And what is that a positive identification?
Yes.
And now I'm assuming that means that if you have an unknown print, you find 7 points on there. But if you don't have a print to compare it to, I guess what do you call it, like a known print, then it's just that you have a legible print?
We have a legible print.
And then at some point, do you have to show it or rather compare it to a known standard or known print?
Yes.
And is that at that time, or if you have those 7 points, are you able to positively identify that unknown print as coming from the known print?
Yes.
And that's in the general category of how you determine if an unknown print to a known print. Is that correct?
Correct.
Let me ask you about SAPD case number 170-89350. Are you familiar with that SAPD number?
Yes, I am.
And in fact, is that why you're here today?
Yes.
And did you review latent print cards for that case?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell the jury how many latent print cards that you reviewed for this case?
I reviewed 18 latent cards that were submitted.
And were you able to identify those unknown prints that you, well, let me retract that and talk about those 18 latent print cards. From those 18, were you able to identify any of those to a known standard or known print?
Yes, I was.
And can you tell the jury, out of those 18 total, how many were you able to compare and possibly identify an individual that made those prints?
May I have the evidence?
Do you have your reports in front of you? Oh. Oh, sorry. I'm going to show you what's part state exhibit number 37. You can just look at that, been entered into evidence, and tell me if you recognize that.
Yes, I did.
And how do you recognize that?
I received it on April 24th, 2017.
And did you review it?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell me who collected this? Well, one, it's been entered into evidence. Can you hold up that card that's inside of this envelope? And can you turn it back and forth? And can you tell me, tell the jury, what is this?
This is an unknown prints that were lifted at this,
Sorry, go ahead.
at this particular scene.
And who was it lifted by?
This was lifted by crime scene investigator K. Wong, number 9440.
And on this particular card, does it state where this fingerprint came from?
Yes, latent prints obtained from E4 Apple iPhone model number A1549 IMEI 356-99106-2443-296.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, at this time, we would request a hearing under 702 witness.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have you step outside. You heard some evidence. In this case, you're not allowed to discuss with yourselves or with anyone else, do any research or to begin deliberations. Does everyone understand? So I'm going to have you all step outside and I'll call you back in shortly. Everyone, please rise for the jurors. All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Just a couple of questions. So I guess to start off with, in terms of the principle that no two people have the same fingerprint, I understand that. In terms of the idea of being able to examine the prints and say that it came from the same person each time, you mentioned that there are 7 points of comparison required for you to make identification, a positive identification of a print.
Correct.
What can you explain what you mean by the phrase points of identification?
They're the ridge characteristics.
Okay, what is a ridge characteristic?
It is an action point that one looks for, and there are different types of points that we look for in a print.
What makes the human finger develop those points? Do you know?
I do not.
Okay. Are they something that is developed by the human body as a natural process, or can points of comparison occur because of things that happen to the human body? Like,
we are born with these prints.
okay, if I cut my finger, or I have damage to my finger, or I grow older and my skin changes, or I have a scar, do those things impact the way that those ridges and points of comparison differ on a print?
It could, but the ridges do not change. They are permanent.
Okay, but they don't grow over scar tissue, for example.
No.
And so I mean, what you're saying is there are some variables related to things not part of the human body or how it naturally grows and develops and so forth that could change or at least obscure the ridges that are naturally there on our fingers, correct?
Could be a scar,
For a scar, for example, right?
correct.
Now, when you're talking about these types of characteristics, how do they teach you to identify them?
We have to know the fingerprints, and we look at the specific point. We have to know what we are looking for, and there are several different characteristics that we do look for.
Okay, when you are developing those characteristics, are you in possession of the known point of comparison?
Not all the time.
But sometimes?
Yes,
In this case, were you?
no,
Okay,
All right, so here's my question. Are you challenging her as an expert? Are you challenging the scientific method of fingerprinting, or are you just doing a cross-examination?
I'm challenging the method of fingerprinting, Your Honor. I'm also going to be challenging the way in which the methodology was applied on the occasion in question.
All right, so that is cross-examination. If you're challenging that fingerprints are not scientific, then ask those questions. If you're challenging that she's not in the expert in the field of fingerprinting, then ask those questions. But everything else outside of that, that's cross-examination. So is that what's happening here? You're challenging her expertise?
Well, Your Honor, respectfully, I believe that under Daubert and Kelly, the purpose of this kind of a hearing authorizes me to ask questions about the underlying scientific theories.
Respectfully, I'm asking, are you challenging her ability as an expert? Are you saying she's not an expert in her field? Or are you challenging and stating that fingerprints are not a part of the scientific method? They haven't been proven, that I am assuming that there are fingerprints that can be the same from two different persons. What I'm trying to figure out from your questioning is, what is your challenge to this witness? If it's just for you to cross-examine, then that needs to be done in front of the jury. But if you're challenging her expertise and following rule 701, 702, 703, then you need to have your questioning limited to 701, 702, 703.
Your Honor, I would, as I was saying, I believe that to make the inquiry, the court must be apprised of what the scientific principle is, what the method used to apply that principle is, and whether that method was done correctly on this occasion.
Then respectfully, those are the questions that need to be asked.
Yes, Your Honor. I will
right.
try to
Thank
be
you.
more tailored to that. Your Honor, also just to streamline it, I'm also entitled under Rule 705 for disclosure of the underlying facts and data. So I would like to ask the witness a couple of questions about that because it will inform my inquiry and shorten it.
Well, haven't you already received that from the state?
Well, yes, but the record is entitled to be made all at the same
No, I
time.
understand that, but I'm trying to make sure that you have received that.
I am aware, I believe I've received it. I mean, I'd like to ask the witness.
All right,
now.
proceed.
Okay, real quick, ma'am. You mentioned that you looked at a print that was taken off of a blue iPhone.
Apple iPhone,
Okay, and that was collected on what date?
April 23rd, 2017,
And that was collected by Kimberly Wong, correct?
correct.
And then you also received a comparison print, right?
I received it from. Are you asking me if I had a known prints to compare to my unknown prints?
Were you asked to compare that print that was lifted off of the phone to a known print?
Yes,
Okay, and you're going to render an opinion about that comparison?
I analyzed the print, compared it to my unknown to my known, and determined they were one and the same.
Okay, and that print was from who?
This print was from Jalen Bell.
Okay. Okay. Okay, sorry. Your Honor, I'm gonna withdraw the objection. I apologize. I misunderstood.
All right, bring the jurors in.
For some reason, I thought I saw the word blue. I apologize.
Yes, you can bring them.
All right, jury.
Please be seated. All right, State, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, just one moment.
About state exhibit. State exhibit number 37, and you had obtained the card, what you call the latent print card,
Correct.
and that's what was in this. And you stated that you were able to compare the prints on that card with a known individual. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you stated this earlier, just to rehash, just to make sure that we're on the same page. This was collected by Kimberly Wong on April 23rd, 2017.
That is correct.
And who was the individual that you were able to identify that made the prints on this particular cell phone?
I identified to Jalen Bell.
Thank you. I'm going to show you what's marked state exhibit number 106. Can you please look at that and tell me if you can identify that envelope and its contents?
Yes, I received it May 1st, 2017. There were 10 latent cards submitted.
And who were they submitted by?
They were submitted by crime scene investigator R. Hurtado, number 9414.
And did you have an opportunity to review those latent print cards, those 10 latent print cards? And were you able to identify, well, that's a compound question. Were you able to review those cards?
Yes, I was.
And on those possible cards, did you find any legible prints?
Yes, I did.
On those cards, legible prints, how many of those cards did you find legible prints on?
I found 2 cards with legible prints.
And I guess since we're on that subject, there's 10 cards. And when I ask if it's legible, is that what you indicated earlier, that is a legible print, those 7 points that you have to find?
Correct.
So could there be partial prints on there?
It could be, yes.
And that under your qualification of a latent fingerprint or print examiner, you cannot determine a positive ID with less than 7 points.
That is correct.
But in this particular occasion, on 2 of those cards, you were able to identify legible print. And were you able to compare those prints to a known print?
Yes.
And were both of those latent cards that you have legible prints on, did that come back to the same individual?
Yes.
And please tell the jury who that individual is.
Jeremiah Rodriguez.
Thank you. Judge, this time the state would just enter state exhibit number 106. That's any objection.
No objection.
States 106 is admitted without objection.
If you don't mind, can you take out the 2 cards that you identified that prints were made by Jeremiah Rodriguez? Can you please just hold those up and show them to the jury? And these are the prints that you identified coming to Jeremiah Rodriguez?
Yes.
Okay. And then on the front of those cards, it has a brief description of where they were found. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And previous testimony, Raul Hurtado, the individual that lifted those prints, is that, well, one, is that correct? That's who collected those?
Yes.
And he explained where those were located.
Yes.
Thank you. You can put those back in here, please. Now, that's a total of Kimberly Wong turned in 1 latent print card, and then Mr. Raul Hurtado turned in 10. You said 18. Where are the other 7? Okay, you can, and it's not entered evidence yet, but on that particular one, were you able to identify any legible prints on those latent print cards?
I was not.
And how many latent print cards were turned in?
7 latent prints were submitted.
And who were they turned in by?
BH number 9418.
And so as of purposes of evidentiary value, you cannot testify to those cards at all.
I cannot.
Now, we heard about a Jeremiah Rodriguez known prints. We've heard about Jalen Bell known prints. Were you asked to compare any and all these prints to other individuals?
Yes, I was.
And can you please tell the jury the other individuals that you compared these prints to?
Your Honor, may I get my notes?
Defense, she is asking to review her notes.
No objection.
I was given Mark Anthony Saldivar,
Okay, anybody else?
Taymor Mcintyre,
And anybody else that you compared these to?
Joanna Reyes.
Thank you. Now, in stating that, out of all these prints that you were able to determine that were legible, you identified one Jalen Bell and one to Jeremiah Rodriguez. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Now, we'll pass the witness.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
You got to state your own.
The rule has been invoked. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony with anyone during the pendency of this trial. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you'll just leave the exhibits with the court reporter. All right, state, call your next witness.
The state calls Lindsay Patton.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can lower your hand. If you make sure you keep your voice up so members of the jury can hear, and if you can state your name and spell your last name, please.
My name is Lindsay Patton. Last name spelled Patten.
All right, state, you may proceed.
Ms. Patton, how are you currently employed?
I currently work for the San Antonio Police Department.
And what unit are you with currently?
I am with the Southwest Texas Fusion Center.
What are your duties in your current role?
In my current role, I manage 6 grants for the unit, as well as purchasing and other budget items.
Okay. In total, how long have you been with the San Antonio Police Department?
17 years.
Okay. And were you previously assigned to the crime scene investigation unit?
Yes, I was.
About how long did you spend in that unit?
13 years.
Okay. What were your duties as a crime scene investigator?
I would collect evidence, take photographs, take fingerprints, things like that.
And what kind of training did you undergo to become a crime scene investigator?
When I was first hired, we get 3 months of training in the academy, and then a month of ride-alongs, and then I was annually trained after that.
Now, were you employed as a crime scene investigator with the San Antonio Police Department on June 6th of 2017?
Yes, I was.
And as part of your duties as a crime scene investigator back in 2017, were you tasked with obtaining digital evidence in certain cases?
Yes, I was.
And on June 6th of 2017, did you receive a cellular device to extract associated with the case that we're here for today?
Could I see on my extraction report?
I have a printout of it, but I'll show you what has been marked as physical number 1. Do you recognize what this is?
Yes.
Okay, and have you reviewed that before?
Yes, I have.
Does it contain a fair and accurate depiction of the extraction that was generated?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and that was for Docket. And do you have any unique identifiers on here to confirm that you reviewed the contents of the disc?
Yes, my initials are on it.
Okay, and so you recall that you reviewed it, correct?
Yes.
And it's fair and accurate copy of the report,
Yes.
and that analysis is done in this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell the jury how you came into possession of the cellular device that you conducted the extraction on?
Sure. We have a secure lockbox in our photo lab, which is at our headquarters. And that day I took the piece of evidence out of the secure lockbox and I started to process it.
Okay. What did you search the case exhibit number 140 under? What authority did you act?
There was a search warrant.
Okay. And what program did you use to conduct the forensic extraction?
It's called Cellbrite.
And did you have training and experience with Cellbrite back in 2017?
Yes, I was trained by another CSI.
Okay, and had you conducted investigations previously with forensic devices using Cellbrite?
Yes.
And at the time, were you familiar with Cellbrite?
Yes, I was familiar.
And in your training and experience, did you find it to be reliable?
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury how Cellbrite was used in this case regarding the contents of State's Exhibit 140?
Sure. At the time, had the phone, you would plug it into it's called a UFED device, a Universal Forensic Extraction Device. And that device plugs into the computer that has the Cellbrite software on it. So you would take the phone, plug it into the UFED, which gave you some prompts, and you would go through the prompts, and then the extraction report would run. And you just kind of waited. It would depend on how much data was on the phone as to how long it would take.
Okay, and so in this case regarding State's Exhibit number 140, did you hook up the phone that you received to the Cellbrite toggle?
Yes.
Okay, and you followed all the prompts?
Yes, I did.
All right, and did a successful extraction occur?
Yes, it did.
And was a report generated with the findings of the cell phone that you received?
Yes.
Okay. To your knowledge, can the data that's extracted be manipulated in any way?
No.
Okay. And so, well, at this time, the state offers State's Exhibit 140.
No new objection.
All right, State's Exhibit number 140 is admitted.
Permission to publish.
Granted.
All right, can you see that up there?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, if you take a look at exhibit number 140, what day was the report created?
Was created on June 6th of 2017.
Okay. And regarding the examiner name, who is that?
That's me.
And is that your badge number?
Yes, was.
Now regarding the extraction start date and time, can you tell the jury what that was?
The start date was June 6th, 2017 at 8:29 a.m. And the end time was June 6th of 2017 at 8:32 a.m.
Now regarding the MSISDN, can you explain to the jury what that is?
That is the full phone number of the device.
Okay. And regarding the detected phone model, can you please go over that with the jury?
It's an iPhone 5.
And who is the owner name that was designated to the device?
It's TAYK4 7 iPhone.
Okay. And what is the IMEI number registered to the phone?
The IMEI number cellular device, it's assigned to every cellular device for the SIM slot.
Okay. And what was it in this case on exhibit 140?
It is 35. It's 3585380563869112.
And regarding the Apple IDs that were registered to the device, can you explain to the jury what those are?
They are emails, the first being SONOFSAAAM@AOL.com, and the other being TAYK47U@iCloud.com.
And regarding call logs, you just give me a second. You previously reviewed this, and this is a fair and accurate depiction of the calls that were contained on the device, correct?
Yes.
And regarding this iMessage, can you explain to the jury regarding the item listed as 67, who the participants in that iMessage thread were?
It's going to be TAYK47U@iCloud.com.
Okay, and the other number associated with the text thread?
The other number is 1-469-347-3233.
And regarding this message on February 3rd of 2017 at 2:56 p.m., who does it appear sent that message?
The TAYK47U@iCloud.com.
And what does that message say?
Says, who is this?
Okay, and then regarding the message sent directly after that, on February 3rd of 2017 at 2:57 p.m., can you say what number was associated with that chat?
It's 1-469-347-3233.
And what is that saying?
Pimpy Z.
Okay. And regarding the message at February 3rd of 2017 at 2:57, Is that an image that was sent to the iPhone?
Yes.
There we go. All right, thanks.
All right, Ms. Patton, and as part of the reviews of states exhibit number 140, there were multiple images that were contained within the phone. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And just regarding this image for demonstrative, regarding line 13, can you identify when that photo was taken?
It was taken on February 10th of 2017.
Okay.
At 5:02 p.m.
Okay, regarding states exhibit or the item listed as 140, can you tell when that image was created?
It was created on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:16 p.m.
Okay, and line 141,
It was taken on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:15 p.m.
and 142,
It was taken on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:15 p.m.
and 143.
Also on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:15 p.m.
Regarding line 144,
It was taken on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:14 p.m.
line 145,
1:45?
Yes.
It was taken on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:14 p.m.
line 146,
It's taken on March 3rd, 2017 at 3:14 p.m.
line 147,
It's taken on March 2nd, 2017 at 8:38 p.m.
and line 148.
Was taken on March 2nd, 2017 at 8:38 p.m.
And just, we've gone through this previously, correct?
Yes,
There are other images that are contained within the state's exhibit, correct?
yes,
And you would be able to tell the date and time that they were taken by looking where, if you could show the jury, please.
looking right here at created.
Where my mouse is toggling.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Thank you very much. We pass the witness, Your Honor.
Defense?
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So what we just looked at is the contents of what's called a logical extraction. Is that right?
Yes, I believe is also a file system extraction.
Okay, and there are different grades of extraction, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And logical or file system is the lowest level, lowest tier of extraction, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So for example, it won't tell you what's in the deleted files or in the cache of different applications, right?
Yes, that is correct.
If you wanted to look at messages that were sent on platforms like Instagram or Snapchat, things like that, you wouldn't be able to access.
No, sir.
And what ultimately this kind of a logical extraction produces is a PDF of
That's
what's
correct.
on the phone, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's not like we can go in with a mouse and, click on Instagram and scroll through or things like that.
Right, not with this version.
And it wouldn't give us detailed GPS data either, right?
I don't know the answer.
You don't know one way or the other.
No, sir.
That wasn't something you were asked to look at in this case.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, in order to do a more thorough extraction, we would need what's called a UFED reader, right?
No.
In this case,
I believe a more thorough extraction would have required the passcode to the phone.
And then you would also need to do a full file system extraction.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then you would need to have special software to actually interact with the contents from that full file system extraction, correct?
Yes, in 2017, Cellbrite did not have that technology.
Okay, and it's proprietary software, right? To
Yeah.
Cellbrite?
Yes, sir.
So I mean, do you know how many thousands of dollars it costs to have that software at your disposal?
Injection relevant.
What's the relevancy?
To explain how complicated it is to get more information from the cell phone.
All right, objection is sustained.
Ask the witness.
No further questions, and she's excused by the state judge.
Excused.
All right, the rule has been invoked. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony with anyone during the pendency of this case or view anything. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Make
you.
sure you leave your microphone behind, and if you'll leave the exhibit with the court reporter. State, call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the state calls Detective Raul, Flores.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm being informed by both parties that this is going to be a lengthy witness potentially. But I'm going to give you all a break so everyone can use the facilities, and then we'll come back. But I'll make sure that you do have a lunch break, but I want to make sure that we continue with this witness. Then after this witness, I anticipate giving you your lunch break at that time. Are you all okay with that? All right, so I'm going to have everyone back here. Is 11:10 enough time for you all? All right, remember my previous instructions. Everyone, please rise for the jurors. All right, everyone, please be seated. State, call your next witness.
The state calls, well, another sergeant of my role, Morn.
All right, could you raise your hand for me? Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand. And do you have the microphone? Yes, if you could put that on your lapel, it's for the court reporter. All right, if you'll make sure you keep your voice up, and if you could state your name and spell your last name, please.
My name is Raul Juarez, Juarez.
All right, state, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, it's Sergeant Juarez now.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Well, one, who are you employed with currently?
The San Antonio Police Department,
And I guess in entirety, how long have you been employed by the San Antonio Police Department?
22 years.
And in that course of those 22 years, I guess there's promotions or a different hierarchy of where you ended up in that department. Can you describe to the jury just briefly from those 22 years of what type of experiences you've gone through?
Okay. So I started with the police department in 2003. I worked for approximately 3 years on patrol as a uniformed patrol officer on the south side overnight. From there, I went to the tactical response unit and the gang unit for, again, approximately 3 years. From patrol officer, I promoted to detective in 2010. And I was assigned to the night detectives unit, an investigative unit that works overnight. In 2015, still a detective, I transferred to the homicide unit. And I was assigned to the homicide unit until I promoted to sergeant in December of 2023.
And you stated that you're a detective in the homicide unit. How long were you a detective in the homicide unit?
I was a detective at the homicide unit for 8 years. I was a detective total 13 years.
And can you just, again, briefly describe to the jury, what exactly is that, the homicide division, and what type of cases that you'll deal with?
So the homicide division is actually broken up into several parts. They investigate, everybody assumes it's just murders, but it's also in San Antonio, they also investigate traffic. There's a traffic investigation section, a misdemeanor section, an aggravated assault section. Those are things such as shootings, stabbings, those kinds of felonies. And then there's murders murder detectives that investigate not only murders or any kind of suspicious death, manslaughters, capital murders, and in San Antonio, also officer-involved shootings.
Okay, thank you. And let's go back into 2017. What division were you assigned at that point?
I was assigned to the murders section at homicide.
And particularly April 23rd, 2017, were you assigned to the murder subsection of the homicide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And let's talk about SAPD number 170-89350. Were you the lead detective on that case?
Yes, sir.
And were you dispatched to the scene that's associated with that SAPD number on April 23rd, 2017?
Yes, sir.
And why did you make that location?
Officers responded to the scene for a shooting. Once officers arrived at the scene, they determined that a person had died from a gunshot wound. And based on the initial details that the patrol officers called, so they hold down the scene, secure the scene, look for witnesses, but they request homicide out to the scene for the follow-up investigation.
All right, excuse me. Could I have parties approach just briefly, please? All right, States, you may continue.
Thank you, Judge. Well, so lost my train of thought there too, but let me ask you this. The location that you arrived at, was there establishment there?
Yes, there was a Chick-fil-A restaurant at 27 Northeast Loop 410.
And so is that location within Bear County, Texas?
Yes, sir.
And just to describe to the jury, what's across the highway that's sort of a landmark, and is there a mall or something across the highway?
Yeah, there's a North Star Mall is located across the highway, approximately across the highway.
So when you arrive at the scene, what are you doing? Are you delegating duties or assignments? How do you handle the scene?
Generally, when I arrive at the scene, I look for either the first responding officer or the officer that's going to handle the report, that they're going to write the report. And I try to get an idea of what the officers have ascertained up to that point as far as what has led up to this incident. And any witnesses or potential bystanders that may have seen or have knowledge of what occurred.
And then speaking of, I mean, one, did you speak with the officers at the scene to get the initial, I guess, briefing on what was going on?
Yes, sir.
And then you stated about talking to witnesses and to get their, I guess, their initial accounts. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you speak with individual witnesses at the scene?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you personally speak with all the witnesses at the scene?
No, sir.
How is that handled?
So when I get sent out to the scene, I went out with another detective, and we kind of divided the duties as far as witnesses. And since as we arrived, we determined that not only was the incident had started from what we know just down the street from the Chick-fil-A.
And initially, when you're there, I think we had previous testimony, or rather other officers at the scene, are they also separating witnesses?
Yes, sir.
And then are witnesses kept at the scene and released from the scene, or are they taken places? They get
So generally, once we determine which witnesses have seen anything, I mean, it's good that they are, telling officers that they're remaining at the scene to give us information. But we need statements from those people. So those witnesses were transported to the homicide office and to provide written statements.
And I guess to be fair, are you able in every case or any case to get every witness that witnessed the incident?
No, sir.
And why is that? Through your training experience?
Generally, people don't want to get involved for a myriad of reasons. So not everybody stays at the scene. Sometimes people maybe feel they saw something but it really wasn't important. It might have caught their attention, but they didn't, link it in their mind that it was something greater. So usually that's the reason. So it's always a good thing when people do stay and cooperate.
And I guess in certain, through your experience with this case or any other case or other cases for that matter, are there times that people stay at a scene and you determine that they're not an eyewitness or a witness that you feel that is useful?
Yes. So yeah, that happens.
And let me ask you also, the initial evidence collection at the scene, was there any evidence that was brought to your attention pretty quickly at the scene?
So initially, I went to where the victim was laying on the street, and there was, other than the victim, there was a shell casing right by him. But I was also informed that there had been a cell phone recovered nearby.
And subsequently, was that cell phone identified belonging to someone?
Yes, sir.
Who did it belong to?
To the victim?
And the victim in this case, Mark Salvador?
Yes, sir.
And that's the evidence that you said was collected at the scene that day?
Yes, sir.
And later on, were the latent prints lifted from that cell phone and identified by Denise Cernel?
Yes, sir.
And did those prints come back to Jalen Bell?
Yes, sir.
While you're at the scene, were you able to see if there was any security videos or surveillance videos at that location?
Yes, sir. There were cameras at the location.
And that location would be, is that Chick-fil-A?
Yes, sir.
And did you have an opportunity to speak with the operator of that establishment?
Yes, sir. The owner came in.
And is that I think a David Atkin?
Yes, sir.
And were you able to, I guess in some instances, you're not able to see the videos right away, but were you able to view that video with the assistance of that operator, David Atkin?
Yes, sir. He opened up the establishment because I guess it's closed on Sundays. And he allowed us in there and to review the video.
And reviewing the video, because of that video, that's now in evidence, were you able to quickly identify at least a vehicle of interest?
Yes, sir.
And what the description of that vehicle? I know now you know it was a black Kia, but at the time, what were y'all viewing?
I mean, it looked like a small, dark colored, black, dark blue, small sedan.
And any indication on that video of any type of damage on that vehicle?
Yes. It appeared that it had damage, like major damage to the windshield.
And viewing that video at the scene that day, were you able to see how, sort of, how that damage became to be on that windshield?
Yes. So based not only on the witness statements, but on the video, it appeared the victim had stood up on the hood of the car, caused the damage to the windshield, and then fell off the car.
And speaking, falling off the car, but did it indicate at that point in your investigation, had you determined how the victim became deceased?
Yes, sir. It appeared just on the initial observation that there was a single gunshot wound to the victim's side.
And was that victim, did he ever talk to you or that you're aware of, talk to anyone at that scene after he was shot?
No, sir. Not that I'm aware.
And so was he removed from that scene by the medical examiner's office?
Yes, sir. They removed him to the medical examiner's office.
Okay. And going back to that cell phone from the scene, were you able to view that cell phone? Like the actual display?
Yes, I could see the display.
And were you able to gain access to any numbers that were calling that or texting that individual?
So it was an iPhone and the notifications popped up. So I couldn't access the phone, but when notifications came up, I was able to see messages and phone numbers.
Now, I'm going to show you what's been marked state exhibit number 36. Standard into evidence. Do you recall, I know it's been a little while, but do you recall if that was the cell phone that you viewed at the scene?
Yes, sir.
And this is the cell phone that you just mentioned that you had viewed some notifications on.
Correct.
And those numbers that you received, were you able to make contact with individuals?
Yes, sir.
And did you ever make contact with a Lucy Salvador?
Yes, sir.
And at some point, you spoke to Lucy Salvador.
Yes, sir.
Now, after this initial investigation and your continuing investigation, and do you go down through a process of, in a sense, collecting other evidence, let's say like 911 calls?
Yes, sir.
And in this particular case, did you collect and listen to any 911 calls?
Yes, sir. There were 3 911 calls.
Do you recall the individuals that gave those those, or made those 911 calls?
Yes, one of them was Ana Delgado, and she stayed at the scene. We got a written statement from her.
Okay,
The other one was Elizabeth, and she gave a recorded statement. The third one was a lady who did not want to identify herself.
and did those 911 calls assist you in your investigation?
Yes, sir.
And were those renditions and consistent with what you've been gathering already?
Yes, sir.
And then on April 26, 2017, were you able to identify a person of interest of the Joanne Reyes?
Yes, sir.
And how were you able to determine that she's a person of interest in this case?
So I had applied for a search warrant for the victim's phone. And in reviewing his phone records, after having spoken to his mother, I knew the approximate time he left home, and I knew the approximate time where he was murdered. So I looked for the phone records at that time to see who he was communicating with, and that's how I developed that phone.
And is that how you developed Joanne Reyes was associated with the phone number?
Yes, sir.
And did you try to contact her?
I did.
And were you able to contact her at that time?
No, sir.
Did you ever contact anybody associated with Joanne Reyes?
I spoke to her parents.
And were you able to identify the vehicle, the black Kia Forte, through them?
Yes, sir.
And at that time, did you, since you did have her number and she's associated with the case, were you able to apply for a search warrant and obtain one for her phone records?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you what's been marked state exhibit number 141. Can you please just briefly look through that and tell me if this is familiar to you?
Yes, sir. Those are his phone records.
And whose phone records were they, or are they?
Joanna Reyes.
And these are the phone records that you applied for search warrant and obtained due to this case. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, the state would offer state exhibit number 141 into evidence. Senator defense for any objections?
No objections.
All right, and that's state's exhibit, I'm sorry, 141?
141.
All right.
Sorry, I don't want to make sure I have something else to say.
All right, state's exhibit number 144 is admitted.
141, Judge.
Yes, 141.
All right, now, obtaining her phone records, was it helpful in the investigation of this murder?
Yes, sir.
When at any time after this, were you able to actually speak with Joanna Reyes on April 27th, 2017?
Yes, sir. She called me.
And were you able at that time to set up an appointment for her to come in to be interviewed?
Yes, she set up an appointment to come in on April 30th.
Well, let's move on to April 28th and 29th. Were you able to, on that particular day, what was significant about this particular day in association with this case?
I was off duty and I was notified that the Kia Forte that was used involved in the murder was recovered at El Potosino restaurant on San Pedro.
And is that El Potosino Mexican food restaurant on San Pedro? Approximately, how far is that away from the Chick-fil-A where the shooting occurred?
It's probably a little over a mile, roughly a mile down the road.
And you say down the road, Chick-fil-A is on the access road to 410 and Nicola roughly. If you go to El Potosino, can you describe to the jury how you get there?
Yes, so you would turn, well, you can only turn, I guess, right out of the Chick-fil-A, heading towards San Pedro. And you would take a left on San Pedro heading into town. And El Potosino is just up to the right, one of the lights.
And this scene was processed. Was there any security videos collected from this El Potosino restaurant?
Yes, sir. I was informed that the El Potosino had security cameras.
And those are on state exhibit number 62. Were you able to view those videos?
Yes, sir.
And I guess not necessarily that day, but you were able to subsequently view those videos.
Correct.
And when you did view those videos, was those consistent with your investigation?
Yes, sir.
And after this particular day, did you also have an opportunity on April 30th? Did you gain information on a Tamor Mcintyre?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
When I came into work on Sunday, April 30th, I received information naming.
Objection hearsay confrontation.
Sustained.
Well, you gained information on Tamor Mcintyre.
Objection hearsay confrontation, leading the witness sidebar.
All right. With the objection to leading, that will be sustained.
Move to instruct the jury to disregard the question.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are to disregard the last question.
Motion for mistrial.
Denied.
On April 30th, were you following up on information that you received?
Through.
Objection, Your Honor. That's
What's the
trying to
legal
elicit the
objection?
exact same issue.
All right, that objection will be overruled. That's a yes or no question.
So you're following up on information you received?
Yes.
Thank you. And as you were proceeding through your investigation, were you, again, did you ever contact or was contacted by Joanna Reyes?
Yes.
And did you ever have another conversation with her?
Yes.
And I mean over the phone.
Yes.
And this is April 30th, which you stated in previous testimony that she was supposed to come in on April 30th for an interview. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did she come in for that interview?
No, she didn't.
And what did it seem like to you?
It seemed like she was avoiding me.
And at this point, did you interview anybody else in this case?
Yes, Jeremiah Rodriguez.
And where did you interview him at?
At the homicide office.
And was anybody else with him?
His mother, Rebecca Rodriguez.
And from that interview, did you follow up with information you received that in that interview?
Yes, sir.
And on May 1st, 2017, at any time, did you receive any information about the possible shooter?
Objection calls for hearsay confrontation.
Overruled. That's a yes or no question.
Yes.
And were you able to, at that point, identify anybody that was listed as the possible shooter?
Objection calls for hearsay speculation.
Overruled.
Yes.
Who was that?
Tamor Mcintyre.
And did you develop any other information about individuals that were friends with him or acquaintances of his?
His best friend, Jalen Bell.
Your Honor, again, object to hearsay confrontation.
Overruled.
And through your investigation, did you find out where Tamor Mcintyre was from?
Dallas, Texas.
And
Your Honor, may I have a running objection to this line of inquiry?
Right, you can make your objections and the court will make a ruling.
Objection hearsay confrontation.
That will be overruled.
I'm going to show you what's marked state exhibit number 115.
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with this?
Yes, sir.
Where was this collected from?
This letter was collected from the Kia Forte when it was processed by CSI with someone.
And so this was found in the Kia Forte.
Yes, it was photographed.
This was photographed. This is the, I guess, can you describe to the jury what they're looking at?
It's an envelope with it's being mailed. The sender is from New Jersey and the receiver is Mr. Mcintyre.
And it has an address for Mr. Mcintyre on there. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what's the city location?
Fort Worth, Texas.
Thank you. Leading up to this point was Tamor McIntyre a suspect in the shooting?
Yes, sir.
And you spoke with Mark Salvador's family, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you got information from them, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And on May 1st, did you have an opportunity to talk to Joanne Reyes again?
Yes, sir.
And what did you do? Did you set up another appointment with her
Yes, sir.
for a future appointment?
That's correct.
And on this particular day, did you actually get to view the video of El Patrocino Mexican food restaurant?
Yes, sir.
And was that useful to your investigation?
Yes, sir.
And was that consistent as far as your investigation so far?
Yes, it was.
And for other videos associated possibly with this case, did you make any inquiries or investigation into that?
Yes, sir. So I did check other locations from El Potosino, from the area around there. I went to Starbucks, the Guitar Center, North Star Mall, Pollo Loco, looking for other video, but there was no video that showed, which direction the suspects or the people that left the suspect vehicle at El Potosino, where they may have gone.
And after viewing the El Patrocino restaurant video that's in evidence, that's state exhibit number 62. Did you indicate or rather realize that there was any other individuals of interest on that video?
Yes, sir.
Which individuals would those be that the jury has viewed that video? Which individuals would they be?
So where the Kia is parked, there's a car parked next to it, and there's two females that seem to come up to the car and interact with the occupants of the Kia, and then they leave. So I went to find out if I could identify those two females.
Through your investigation, were you able to identify those two individuals that got in that vehicle and left?
Yes, sir.
And subsequently, were you able to interview them?
Yes, sir.
And did that assist you in your investigation?
Yes, sir.
Now, what were the names of those individuals, by the way?
Jasmine and Vanessa Cruz.
Okay, thank you. Now, moving forward to May 7th, 2017, was there anything significant for your investigation that happened on that day?
Yeah, I received a call from Officer Bernal with the Dallas Police Department advising me that Jalen Bell had been arrested.
Now, where had Jalen, I think you mentioned just now, Dallas, but where was Jalen Bell arrested? Where was he arrested, as in the city? What city was he arrested in?
Mansfield?
No.
Oh.
I'm asking you.
Oh, like Dallas, Texas?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Bad question. That's my fault. I apologize. But he was arrested by Dallas PD in Dallas, Texas.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Now, something significant that was found upon, Jayla Bell was that 9mm handgun, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And subsequently, you requested this handgun, from the Dallas Police Department, is that correct?
That's correct.
And actually numerous times did you request it?
Objection, leading.
Sustained.
How many times did you request it?
At least 3 or 4 times over a period of months.
And then moving on to May 9th. I think I just addressed that with state exhibit number 115 about the letters that was addressed to Tamor Mcintyre and that Fort Worth address. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And again, that was found in the vehicle, the Kia Forte, the black Kia Forte.
Yes, sir.
Was also found in that black Kia Forte, was there a telephone found in that black Kia Forte?
Yes, sir.
And show you what Smart State exhibit. State exhibit number 115. Is this the phone that was found in that black Kia Forte?
Yes, that's the one that was found in the glove compartment.
And subsequently, were you able to identify who this phone belonged to?
Yes, sir.
Who did it belong to?
Tamor Mcintyre.
Thank you. Now also, looking at the photos or CSI photos from the scene at the El Patrocino restaurant on this day, were you able to view a wallet that was located near the black Kia Forte?
Yes, sir.
And I'll show you what's marked state exhibit number 78. Was this that wallet?
Yes, it is, sir.
And now this wallet in state exhibit number 78 was found near that vehicle. Were you able to ever identify whose wallet that was?
It was Mark Saldivar's wallet.
And how were you able to identify that?
I showed his,
Objection, confrontation, hearsay.
Sustained.
Okay. Now, on May 15th, 2017, did you make any requests that day?
for the gun in Dallas.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we spoke about it just previously, but I'd like you to, I'm asking you, did you request that gun that day also from Dallas Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Going on to May 16th, 2017, were you able to obtain the autopsy report for this case at that day?
Yes, sir.
And was it determined that Mr. Mark Salvador was shot by a handgun, or rather a firearm,
Yes, sir.
and was deceased because of that?
Yes, sir.
At that particular day, did you speak with anybody else related to Joanne Reyes?
On which day, sir?
On May 16th. Or May 16th through the 28th.
To Joanna Reyes, I spoke to her mother. Yeah.
And then on May 30th, did you try to gain access to Mark Salvador's cell phone?
I had been trying to do that.
And so I guess what the difference is sort of like, you can make access to the actual physical phone, but then you can also request the records. Is that correct?
Object to leading.
I'll return, Your Honor. How do you, I mean, one, what type of records can you obtain from a cell phone?
So I had obtained his cell phone records, so I could tell incoming calls, outgoing calls, things of that nature. But because I could not access his phone, I could not, access anything else from the phone itself, as far as like apps or call logs, contacts, things of that nature.
And then this is the individual, Mark Salvador, that you testified earlier to, that you got phone records.
That's correct.
And that's different from the actual cell phone?
Yes,
Thank you. Also, at the scene of El Patrocino Restaurant, an SD card was found. Were you able to view that or analyze it yourself?
so it was found, I tried to, it was damaged, but I still tried to put it into multiple SD card readers. It didn't work. I eventually ended up sending it to our tech unit. Maybe they have a way of getting information, but they were unable to retrieve any information from that SD card.
And moving on to May 31st, did you ever speak to a Jameson Medina?
Yes, sir.
Did you gain information from that individual?
Yes, sir.
Did that assist you in your investigation?
Yes, sir.
And during this time, did you also speak with Jeremiah?
Yes, sir.
And again, gain information from this individual?
Yes, sir.
And did you speak to Olivia Reyes, mother of Joanne Reyes again?
Yes, sir.
Now, on June 20th, 2017, did you ever receive any type of gunshot residue results?
Yes, sir.
And who were the gunshot residue results?
For
Sorry, go ahead.
Mark Saldivar.
And after the accumulation of your investigation to this point, you've spoken to many individuals, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you've viewed the Chick-fil-A video.
Yes, sir.
You viewed the El Patrocino Mexican food restaurant video.
Yes, sir.
And done your own investigation into this case.
Yes, sir.
And so on June 26, 2017, what did you do on that particular day?
I submitted for a SID request for Tamar McIntyre and Jalen Bell.
And if you can you describe what a SID request and what is a SID?
So it's a number, it's a unique identifier. People have it for different reasons, but generally it's if there's going to be a case filed against a person, there needs to be a SID associated with that person.
And you said you requested it. Did you receive a unique number that is associated with each of these individuals?
Yes, sir.
Can you please tell us what the unique SID number for Damon McIntyre is?
108-5716.
And I believe you stated that you also received one for Jalen Bell. Can you please tell the jury what that number is?
108-5713.
Thank you. Now, at this particular moment on this date, had you interviewed Joanna Reyes yet?
No, sir.
You had spoken to her?
Yes, sir.
But not fully interviewed her?
That's correct.
Then on speaking of the next day, June 27th, 2017, were you able to speak again with the parents of Joanne Reyes?
Yes, sir.
And what did you inform them about?
Objection, hearsay, confrontation.
Overrule.
You can answer the question, sir.
I told them that I felt that Jonah was evading me and that she was likely going to be charged with capital murder.
Okay. And that's something you informed them of on June 27th, 2017?
Yes, sir.
Let's go to the next day, June 28th, 2017. Did you make a request that day?
Yes, I requested again to have the gun that was found on Jalen Bell transferred here.
Do you know if it was transferred that day or not?
I do not.
Now on June 30th, 2017, what was significant about this day?
Through my investigation, I found out that Tamar McIntyre had been arrested in New Jersey.
And Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there's a matter that I need to take up outside your presence. So it's probably going to take 5 or 10 minutes. So I can have you all wait for us 5 or 10 minutes, or either I can send you on your lunch break now, and then I would have you all back here by 1:30. So do you all want your lunch break now? All right, I see some head shakes. All right, please be seated, everyone. Let me give you your instructions that I've been giving you at each break, and hopefully at some point in time, you're going to memorize it before I even say it. So make sure your badges are always visible, because sometimes people will talk about different cases, but if they see your badge, they'll know that you're on a jury trial and they won't talk around you. The other thing, if you hear someone talking about this case or see anything, ignore it, don't look at it. Everything that you're supposed to know about this case is supposed to come from. All right. Everything that you need to know about this case is supposed to come from. Yes. Don't do any investigation. Don't start deliberating with yourself or with each other. Does everyone understand? All right. So you all will meet back in the jury room at 1:30, and I'm going to release you for your lunch break. Everyone, please rise for the jurors. All right, everyone, please be seated.
Your Honor,
So,
may I just make a brief request?
yes.
When we're doing that instruction to the jury, would the court consider advising them if someone does try and speak with them, if they were to advise the court or the court personnel?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So, State, you mentioned that you were going to ask questions about an extradition from Tarrant County.
Well, no, actually from New Jersey to Tarrant County, Judge.
All right. So what is the purpose of asking about his extradition to Tarrant County?
Well, the purpose is, Your Honor, is to direct rebuttal to defense's opening, and also to some of the cross that they have questioned some of the officers or what other witnesses on. In particular to the 7-year gap, or 7.5 to 8 year gap that was mentioned numerous times in defense's opening, and mentioned numerous times throughout this trial. And I believe that's leaving a false impression that the state, at least Bexar County, was not expediting this actual case. And so it's rebuttal to that to say that he was extradited to Tarrant County. Well, I mean, ideally, to stand charges for capital murder, I can understand how that might be prejudicial, Your Honor. And so we're not asking to get into the fact of what the charge was, but that he was facing charges in Tarrant County for that purpose, and that this
Oh,
officer.
just for a moment, because they're opening the door.
Close the door.
All right.
This detective has knowledge that this individual, Tamar Mcintyre, was up in Tarrant County for several years, awaiting to resolve those charges. And hence then he was extradited to San Antonio or Bexar County, Texas. So that does not leave a false impression that the state of Texas and Bexar County DA's office was not expediting this case, because when he was actually brought here, actually for a capital murder, he was brought to trial rather quickly compared to other capital murders that start from start to finish in Bexar County, Texas, Your Honor. So that's the purpose. It's rebutting the contention that defense put in front of the jury that the state had lagged on this one for over 7 to 7.5 to 8 years.
All right. And your response?
Well, Your Honor, while we have talked about the length of time as it related to the firearm and that issue, I do not believe that we have ever suggested that the length of time that it has taken to prosecute Mr. Mcintyre is part and parcel of why we've criticized the investigation. And if Mr. Graham could be a bit more specific as to what exactly it would rebut, we are not suggesting, nor do we plan to argue in closing, that this 7-year gap should be held against the state, other than just simply there was a piece of evidence that was sitting in the evidence room for 7 years, which might have had scientific bearing. But I don't think that issue is in play either, because there's been nothing either, I think, in discovery or in any of the testimony that has stated that the reason the gun lingered in evidence was because of the Tarrant County prosecution. In fact, it sounds like the gun has been in police custody here in San Antonio until sometime later in the year of 2017 or early 2018. So I don't think that the issue about his extradition directly to Tarrant County rebuts anything that we've said.
All right, and Attorney Goldstein?
I'm gonna do something probably that's gonna make everybody.
No, it will not.
Well,
Well, it won't
perhaps
make
not
me
you,
mad
but
because I don't get mad, but go ahead.
I think we would stipulate that other than the fact that the gun was not processed, even though it was in their possession, we asked for continuances. I don't think we intend to argue and have not argued, have not questioned, and we would stipulate that they should not hold the length of time that is taken to bring us to trial against the state in any way, Your Honor. I would reserve the issue of that wouldn't stop them from evaluating a piece of evidence that might have been critical to some of the officers.
All right, well, this is going to be the court's ruling. With the caveat, if you all want to make a stipulation, you can make a stipulation. But without a stipulation from both sides, this is going to be the court's ruling. Number one, state you're not allowed to mention that he was awaiting charges for a murder case in another county. I would think it would be appropriate for the witness to be allowed to stipulate that the defendant was extradited to Tarrant County. And then when was he extradited to Bexar County?
I don't have that in front of me, Judge. I can get that.
So I think that will be fair is, I'm sorry, when?
I believe 2019.
All right.
But I don't, we're not asking and we don't mind the stipulating that none of that should be held against the state.
Well, if you all want to stipulate, and again, it's completely up to you. If you want to stipulate that the defendant was extradited to Tarrant County, then extradited to Bexar County in 2019 or whatever year it is, I'll allow the witness to testify to that, or either you all can do a stipulation to it. But sir, you're not allowed to, I'm sorry, Sergeant, you're not allowed to say what the reason he was extradited to Tarrant County.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So whatever charges that were pending in Tarrant County are not to be a part of this trial unless for some reason a door is open to that to be discussed. Does everyone understand?
I do, Your Honor. I just have a question.
Yes.
So, sorry. The question is that he was extradited to Tarrant County, stopped there, or that he was extradited to Tarrant County for charges had pending, or
No,
just Tarrant
no,
County?
just that he was extradited to Tarrant County.
Okay.
And if this witness has information to say he was extradited to Tarrant County in whatever year that was,
Okay.
and then he was extradited from Tarrant County to Bexar County to whatever year that was,
Okay.
but no mention of the charges.
Okay.
Your Honor, my only question about that is, I don't know what purpose we have in even mentioning an extradition to Tarrant County. The phrase, he was extradited to Tarrant County, means there was a judicial demand for him for a criminal matter.
The jurors don't know what, I don't know if the jurors know what an extradition is.
But they may, the phrase has one meaning and someone may understand that. I mean, I don't understand because we're not using anything about the time it took to get Mr. Mcintyre to court here in San Antonio against the state. It seems like this line of inquiry is unnecessary at all.
Couldn't we agree that he was brought in custody to Tarrant County and thereafter brought to Bexar County in 2019?
Well, one, I don't think he was brought in 2019 because it is 2025, and I think that he was brought here in 20. What's that?
I think.
Because when
It
it-
says, yeah, it's August 9th, 2019.
Okay, okay. Oh, as a
As
juvenile, as a
As
juvenile, I'm sorry.
long as they
I
show that he
apologize.
was in custody.
I
she was
apologize
brought-
here. You're correct, because I didn't realize he was a juvenile. I'm going by the one I had to guess.
And that also, I mean, like. is
Well,
the
here's
other-
the thing, time out. If y'all want to stipulate to something, you can stipulate to something, but I've made my ruling.
Understood.
Now, the other question is, to the members in the gallery, I usually don't allow children in the gallery because of the nature of our cases. And sometimes children, depending on their ages, they can't sit still or they want to be somewhere else. And then just as a side note, the courtroom is filled with germs. There's germs on the carpet, germs everywhere. So there was a child that was in the courtroom, I don't know, approximately 4 or 5. Defense, did you have any objections to the child not being or asked to leave the courtroom?
No, Your
Not
Honor.
any objection.
All
And they might learn bad habits from council table.
Okay, so if anyone has, we can go off the record. So if anyone has any questions about the court rules and bringing children in, you can just let the deputies know. Yes.
I have a question. Those are his nieces and his nephews and sisters, and I just wanted to know, can they see him? I mean,
You
I
that
know they can't talk to him.
Yeah. No, well, I will tell you, with regards to that, anyone seeing him,
Yes, ma'am.
you'll have to do it with the deputies. Deputies are in charge of security. I'm a firm believer that everybody stays in their lane, so I don't try to do security. So if that's the reason, you'll need to talk to the deputies about that. And whatever they say about security, that's what they say. All right. All right, is there anything else?
Not from the state.
All right, so we're gonna be back at 1:30. Rule has been invoked. You know what that means. You can't talk to anybody about this case.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.